Hi, I'm David MacArthur, a proud member of Christ Church here in San Antonio. I want to talk to you about how I got involved with Talking Baseball. Talking Baseball was introduced to our church a little over a year ago. I was introduced to Talking Baseball through Alzheimer's Texas. One day in 2018, I was at the Capitol for work and I ran into a former senator, J.E. Buster Brown. He represented or was from Mercedes, Texas, and my dad spent his high school years with his family in Mercedes. So the senator and my dad were friends for a period of time. Unfortunately, my dad had passed a month or two prior to me meeting Senator Brown because of complications of Alzheimer's and dementia. I went to Senator Brown and told him about my dad, and we shared some stories about my dad, and it was wonderful. It was great to hear some things about my dad that I never knew, and he had a smile on his face when he talked about my dad, and that really warmed my heart. After I left Senator Brown, I called him because I knew that he was involved with Alzheimer's Texas. I got a hold of Alzheimer's Texas, the director at the time, and she put me in touch with a wonderful man named Jim Kenton. Jim was working with Alzheimer's Texas and still does through a program that Jim started called Talking Baseball. I was very interested after talking to Jim about Talking Baseball to introduce it here at our church. Talking Baseball is a program that helps patients with Alzheimer's dementia and their caregivers. It gives them an opportunity to meet and gather and talk about baseball, its stats, its history, and just generally have a wonderful time. Well, we brought Talking Baseball to campus and it grew. We started off, I think, with about 6, 7, 8 people. And within a year, we were up to about 20. So we were really making a lot of progress and people really enjoyed the program. Patrick had approved it. In fact, let me back up a little bit. When I told Patrick about the program, he really was excited about it, and so I was very proud that Patrick wanted to bring it to the church and that the church embraced it. And again, we expanded our numbers in a relatively short period of time. Then unfortunately COVID hit and we weren't able to gather and we didn't have an online program set up. But a year later, we do have an online program set up for Talking Baseball, and we are prepared to come back onto campus. And even better news, it's not called Talking Baseball anymore, even though that we will still use the program to reminisce about baseball and talk about it, but it's now called The Good Old Days. Again, we've expanded past baseball. We're going to get into music. We're going to get into other political events. We're going to get into current events of the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and expand the group from Alzheimer's and dementia patients. We certainly welcome Alzheimer's dementia patients and their caregivers, but we also want to reach out to people who just may need some camaraderie. They may want to gather with other people to get out of a lonely situation or a situation where they may not have the friends that they used to, and they want to meet new friends and new people. And that's what this program does. It's now, I found out today, through the West Texas Diocese, going to expand past our campus. And so hats off to Henry Franco, Karen Vonderbrugge, Jim Kenton, for expanding beyond our campus and introducing this wonderful program throughout the city of San Antonio and beyond. I feel very strongly about this program. It takes me back to a time, and I'll go back to the Talking Baseball portion, when my dad, who was suffering from Alzheimer's dementia, was in hospice. And my brother and I were sitting with him, and he was sitting up in bed as best he could, and we were watching Texas baseball. The University of Texas played baseball in the playoffs. I forget who they were playing, it doesn't matter. And as we were watching, it was quiet in the room, and my dad leaned up and stirred a bit, opened his eyes, and he began to watch the baseball game with us, my brother and me. And he would call balls and strikes incorrectly, but he was in tune with the baseball. My dad loved baseball. My dad loved the Yankees. My dad was a walk-on at the University of Texas until my grandfather told him that he could be a doctor or baseball player, but he was paying for my dad to be a doctor. So my dad hung up his cleats, but he never lost his love for baseball. And during that time, when he was watching the baseball game with my brother and me, we had him back. For 5 minutes, we had our dad back. He wasn't a patient. He was our father. And it was a dad and 2 boys, his 2 sons, watching baseball together. And he seemed coherent and with it, and it was wonderful. And that's why Talking Baseball and now The Good Old Days has such strong meaning to me, because I have seen the power of reminiscing. I have seen the power of bringing things back to someone who just maybe needs a little happiness or an escape from the situation that they're in. And it's wonderful, and I am so proud of this church for taking baseball over a year ago and now expanding it into the community and maybe perhaps beyond San Antonio. I've always been a proud member of this church, but I can tell you, the fact that they have done what they've done, and they being Karen Von DeBruge, Henry Franco, Jim Kenton, Patrick, the clergy, the administration, the staff here at church, everything that they have done to expand this program makes me so proud, even prouder to be a member of this church, and I'm so grateful. I hope that you all can join us. I know that there's going to be communication about the program coming out soon. I hope that you do take the time to find someone who may benefit from this, because it is truly wonderful, and it is a great time to get together and reminisce and think about the good old days. Thank you.